Hey friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. Had a thought just the other day of what's been missing in the news. And what's been missing in the news is any updates on what's going on in Cuba. So stick around, I'm going to share some thoughts with you. Wasn't too long ago, in July, all we saw on the news was the Cuban citizens in some sort of organized protests demanding some retribution from their government or some freedom and liberty from their government. And it was just kind of all over. Anytime you turned on the news, there was video footage of the Cuban folks protesting in the streets, and all of a sudden it just stopped. And why was that? Well, I guess one of the big reasons is all of a sudden the Afghanistan thing happened and took over pretty much all the network and cable news. But what really happened, I think, and this is my own opinion, but I think there's a lot of good reasons and backup for it, but what I think really did happen is that the Cuban government restricted internet access to its citizens. They began rounding up and arresting their citizens that were involved in these protests. And they arrested them, they pushed them through their whatever kind of a judicial system they have there in Cuba. A lot of them were sentenced to jail time for anywhere from 2 months to 1 year for just speaking out against what the government was doing to them there. Those folks are really looking for liberty. They're really looking for freedom. They have lived long enough under the communist rule of the Castro regime, and it's been pretty tough on them. But no news is good news? I don't think so. No news means that the Cuban government is still very much in control of their island down there. And they have restricted internet access to its citizens, to the outsiders, to anybody that's down there trying to report the news. It just isn't getting out. There's some articles, if you just go Google Cuban protests on Google, you'll find a couple of articles of recent vintage within the last week or so, and they all point to the very restrictive shutdown of the internet access, social media access of the citizens in Cuba. It's just not getting the coverage that it should be getting. Those folks have been under the communist regime for way too long, and they've about had it. Our administration, Biden's administration, said that he was kind of behind them, but didn't really do anything of substance to change the direction of what's going on down there. And once the Cuban government decided we're going to lock this place down, they sure did. And we're not getting any kind of news at all about what's going on in Cuba right now. Can it happen here? It already is. For folks that have a conservative mindset, that try to post their thoughts on Facebook and on YouTube and on Google and this place and that place, they're being stymied. they're being kicked off. They're being restricted. And it doesn't matter if it's the sitting president of the United States who has been banned from Twitter and been banned from Facebook, all the way down to certain of our representatives in Congress and certain of our senators in the Senate. That kind of stuff can happen. I know it's happened to me. I shared some thoughts about what I thought went wrong in the 2020 election, and I was demonetized. They just said, no, you can't talk about what you think. Sorry, it's against the mainstream of thinking in our country right now. So pretty much we're going to silence you. That video had a few hundred clicks within the first couple hours, and then it just dried right up. There was just nothing after that. It was not being shared. It was totally demonetized. So it's happening here. And when you look at what happened, well, it is happening in Cuba right now, and say, oh, well, it could never happen here. Wake up and smell the roses. Our liberties, our freedom, our ability to live without an oppressive state is right now under threat. They are looking at everything and anything that they can do to keep themselves in charge. I guess that's about the nicest way I can put it. They're still pushing to make D.C. a state. They're looking to possibly make Puerto Rico a state. They're looking at packing the Supreme Court with additional members. They're looking at a federal takeover of the election protocols and processes, usurping what the Constitution says is the right thing to do, and that's the states should be in charge of the elections, and they are to some degree. But the current administration, the current Democrats that are in control of the House and the Senate and the White House, they're looking to increase their power, to increase their chances of holding on to that power forever. And one of the ways they do that is to silence the conservative voice. We can't let them do it. Speak up against it anytime you see it. Push for freedom. Push for that First Amendment. Push for the Second Amendment. I just don't, I can't think of any better way to do it than to let your representatives in the state, in the federal government, know what you're thinking. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, because you're going to need it. And I'll see you all on the next video.